Let's do it live. Here we go. John verse Israel. First of the United States, let's talk about it. Who's the danger? Who's that person to blame? Right? Because the person who usually wrong in the long run is just the person who loses, yeah? Irony, what up? Let people get in here. Hostilities, good to see you. What up? Good to see y'all. Y'all hear me? How do I sound? Use this microphone. I don't know. Oh, got to talk about it wrong this video. It's been going on for a while. It's been going on for a while. Some says he struck a deal. Deal didn't work out. We're going to begin with for both of them is audio is low. Fuzzy. Hold on. I got a better set of headphones. Hold on. I don't think they're down here. I'll be right back. Oh, how about now, fellas? Can you hear me? Yeah, you can hear me. What's going on, my friend? No audio? You can't hear no audio? Audio is muffled still? How about now? I got a couple red icons. Oh, yeah. Tim Hennessy, what up? It's still muffled. Holy shit. Need to get a better pair of microphones. Somewhat better, but the phone's size. I wonder why. Let me see if I can check it. Without audio, I'll show you, but people won't listen without audio. You might have to tap in. Let me see. Communications with, hello, hello, hello? Does that work at all? That's a different source. I don't know what source is coming through. Mike volume on the side of the headset. I don't think that's it. It's muffled still? That's a whole nother vector. Okay, stay on. I'm gonna stay on this. Stay on this live. I'm just gonna jump in. I'm just gonna disconnect this, jump through, go through my phone, and just fucking jump on with the live. Hold that. So you first. I'm just gonna jump in on my phone. I'll be right back. I got this thing storming in. Boom. There we go. It should work. How y'all doing? Can you hear me now? Let's see. Get this guy going. Get the old gangish gone. Just had me up here. Remove from stage. There I am. Bam. Just got to go with the phone, I guess. Sounds good. All right, we're going with the phone then. There's a little bit of a lag. Your audio was also removed. Add yourself back and use the layout buttons. Okay, that's enough. Anyway, Katie, how you doing? Bigfoot, what's cracking, baby? Irony, good to see you. Who else is in here? Good to see everybody tonight. Let's see.
Boom, 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 boom. Tim Hennessy. Good to see you, Muhammad. Tim Hennessy always in the house, always showing love. Trying to see who else is here. Insidious, what up? Insidious. You ever see that movie? That movie was a trip. All right. Here we go. Anyway, so Israel versus Iran, right? As we speak, the United States, Barry Wood, good to see you. The United States is partnered up with Israel to drop like 30 of these Moab bombs, these mother of all bombs, these 30,000 pound. It's like 30,000 pounds of TNT or something like that per bomb. And the way that they build the bombs is so that the bombs explode vertically. They explode up and down as well as outwards, but mostly up and down. Bunker buster bombs, right? And they try to destroy what's in the ground, right? Nuclear facilities. They claim to have destroyed the nuclear facilities of Iran, right? The nuclear capability where they're enriching uranium. Is that the streets? What up, baby? And so there's been some there's been some. Well, the first thing they did that I heard them say is they said, well, technically there was like some there was some trucks. We seen some trucks like a week ago outside of these facilities in Iran, and they were maybe they could have moved some of the nuclear material. They could have moved some of the nuclear material, and that maybe we didn't get it all right. Maybe they moved a bunch of nuclear material away from the site before we were able to blow it up or something like that. That just sounds to me like they're leaving a back door, right? And the military will do that. Politicians will do that. The politicians will float an idea out there into the public to see if the public catches hold, to see if the public buys it. They'll float it out there like it's just a theory, like, oh, we don't know, maybe this happened. And they'll float it out there, and then they'll see what happens. They'll see what comes back. You know what I mean? See if people buy it, see if people eat it up. I don't think anybody was really buying that, so it kind of fizzled out, right? So now Trump goes on TV today, and Trump said he was hooping bombs sideways. So Trump goes on TV today, and he says Israel and Iran both said they both violated this treaty, right? They said Trump made a deal with these people. They had a ceasefire, and then Israel immediately went and dropped like fucking 30 bombs on them or some shit like that. Just dropped a bunch of bombs on them, like immediately. So there's no ceasefire. Now, who's to blame for this, right? This all starts in the 40s. After World War II. This all started because, this wasn't even a problem. You know what's crazy is there wasn't any problems really in the Middle East. They were generally kind of peaceful as far as the world was concerned until they found oil, right? In the 30s, I think they found oil in Iran. And then all of a sudden it became a problem, right? The British got in there and just worked them for their oil. Like I think the British signed a deal with them and was taking something like 85% of Iran's oil, and wouldn't let Iran wouldn't let them audit the situation. They were just basically just like taking their oil. All right. And we do that now. Nobody's been talking about that, but we've been doing that to Syria for years, literally just taking their oil, even with the Syrian government not wanting us there. Over the last 10 years, we've had permanent bases in Syria. This is Kurdistan, right? Where the Kurds are, and where the Kurds have been since the time of Christ, right? The Kurds are ancient people and have never had their own country. And we've just been shipping oil out of Syria into Iraq, just basically just stealing their oil for a long time. And the Iraqis don't want us there either. We're just basically punking these fools for their oil. We're just eating their lunch, right? So Britain was doing that all through the 40s. During World War II, we turned Iran into a front line and just basically fought part of World War II. One of the largest main lines or front lines of World War II was Iran. So we destroyed their country. And then whenever we were done destroying their country, we wanted to make sure that we could continue to take the oil. Well, I say us, it was Britain mostly, but wanted to make sure that we could continue to take their oil. And so we installed the Shah, right? Who was he was sympathetic to United States and British oil company interest. Let's see. Israel is sitting on a pile of nukes, but they won't sign the treaty. Israel will not admit to anything. They most likely do have nukes. They've never admitted to having nukes. They will not admit anything. They won't let inspectors in. But if I had to bet my paycheck on it, I would bet that Israel has nukes. I'm almost sure of it. At least a couple. They may not have a lot, but they have at least a couple. This is going to keep going like the YouTube wars of 2021. Let's see. The Iron Dome can only handle so many targets. Shit ran through with hundreds of rockets at once. And the Iron Dome is very expensive. The Iron Dome is very expensive. Now, Israel's got a lot of money, but the Iron Dome is very expensive, and it is dependent upon the United States to keep running. We are the ones who keep the Iron Dome running. Let's see. Katie, good to see you. America been bullying people forever. Well, I mean, this is the thing, okay? We won't bully you if you just do what we tell you to do. That's kind of how it goes. It's like we feel like, okay, this is how I see it. At the end of the day, power makes you right, right? If Hitler would have won World War II, he would have been right. If anybody's ever seen the show that or read the book, The Man in the High Castle, by who wrote that? Philip K. Dick, I think. In the movie, the Nazis won the war, and they chopped up the United States. Everything on the East Coast belongs to the Third Reich. It becomes the new American Reich, and the West Coast becomes occupied by Japan. And then the only states that are free are like the Rocky Mountain states out here in Colorado and stuff like that. And it becomes like a free zone, like a neutral zone, right? So the ability to apply violence in warfare is what makes you right on the world stage. And so that's what allows the United States to be right. It's not about who we like to sum it up by who's right or wrong, and we like to sum it up like it's some sort of like good or evil, black and white. But that's not what it is. It's the ability to apply organized violence across the globe, and the United States dominates that. And so the United States will be right until somebody else can challenge them on that situation, and nobody really can. There's not another country on the planet that has anywhere near the capabilities to wage war. There's rarely any countries that can wage war on the other side of the planet, period. It's very hard and very expensive to wage war on the other side of the planet. Now, there is some countries with nuclear weapons that could blow up the planet. They could kill us all. That's a thing. But as far as actually war, waging a war on the other side of the planet, there's not many countries that can. And so we end up being the ones who are right, because by default, we're the ones who can organize our violence the best. We can apply physical force the best on the other side of the planet. And so this is what makes us right. Let's see. Iron Dome might get taught from a woman with. The Iron Dome. That's the comment of the night right there. Already. Called Economic Hitman. That was written by Smedley Butler. General Smedley Butler, I believe. Commandant of the Marine Corps, if I remember right. Tell me if I've got that right, Irony. I believe that's who wrote that. And yes, I have. If that's who wrote that, yes, I have. It's on YouTube as well. Let's see. Confessions of an Economic. That's what it's called. Yeah. Yeah, I've read that book. I've read about Carlos, good to see you. I've read about I calculated somewhere around, I think, 2,000 books in my life. I was knocking off like a what are they called? A novel a day whenever I was in solitary, and I was in solitary for like 4 years. And then I would read a novel every day, and then I would read like a textbook. It would take me like maybe 10 or 12 days to read a textbook, because I've got this, like, your brain can read, because one is fiction and one's nonfiction. It's like it separates them, right? And so, like, it's really hard to read two novels at the same time, because you got two different stories going. But like a novel and a textbook, I could read those at the same time. So I would polish off a novel damn near every day, maybe every other day if it was a bigger one. And then I would knock out like a textbook like every 10 to 12 days or something like that. And so I read a lot. And I would read some books like 2 or 3 times. If I really liked a book, I might read it a couple times. And I tell you what, it made college easy. I'll tell you that much. Let's see. Yeah, that's it. One never knows, does one? Oh, Gunner. One never does. Man in the High Castle is a dope book. Yeah, it was an interesting book. It got kind of weird there at the end. The Rocky Mountains are the neutral zone. Yeah, they're like the free zone, but they're not really free, because then like the Nazis had operatives running around it and stuff like that. And that's unfortunate, but that's what it is. You know, who the winner gets to write the book. You know what I mean? As far as the Nazis concerned, the Nazis weren't the bad guys. As far as Iran is concerned, Iran isn't the bad guys, right? We've decided that they are the bad guys because Iran has funded Hezbollah and Hamas and the Shia militias in Iraq and the Houthis and people that we have decided are terrorists, right? But at the same time, we have armed the Kurds. And the YPK, I believe is what they're called. I don't remember what the acronym stands for, the YPK. Correct me if I'm wrong on that. I believe that's what the Kurds are called. Their wing that is considered terrorist, and even some of our own allies consider them terrorists. Turkey. This is one of the big problems that we had with Turkey whenever Finland and Sweden were trying to get into NATO. Whenever they were making their bid for NATO, Turkey kept vetoing their bid for NATO. And the reason why is because Finland and Sweden had sent weapons to the YPK, which is a Kurdistan militia Kurd militia and we've stood right by these Kurds. We've armed these Kurds. We've helped them out, but it wasn't just them. It was specifically the YPK Kurds that they consider them terrorists. So the Turkey, who is our ally in NATO, is saying, and is a very strong ally, is one of the strongest militaries in the world, is saying, you guys are arming terrorists. The United States, Sweden, Finland are arming terrorists. You guys are backing terrorists. So we back people. The Peshmerga. I remember that. Phone calls are being made. Stupid. My name is Densley. Who's that? A troll? I'm gonna teleport to Israel if this goes on. Yeah, and that's what it is. Is we know what runs the world. Now, we are a country of diplomats and we're a country of politicians, and we like to make everything look real nice and sound real good and things of this nature. And so we don't we make everything sound good. We make everything sound like we're the good guys and they're the bad guys and things of this nature. But, you know, we've decided that we're the ones who are in charge of the world, and that the world is going to do, we've basically shown the world that you're going to do what we want you to do, or there's going to be people show up in your country and the leaders might get turned over. And a couple countries have said, oh, well, no, the fuck you won't, because we've got nuclear weapons. And a lot of countries have seen that. I mean, you think about the axis of evil. Whenever George Bush talked about the axis of evil, what's the axis of evil? North Korea, Iraq, and Iran. Iraq and Iran don't even fucking like each other. If I remember right, Iran is what? Iran is Persians, and Iraq is Arabs, I believe. They don't even fucking like each other. They're from different people. They practice different types of different types of Islam, and they don't get along with each other. They just got done fighting a fucking war, right? And we had sent a bunch of weapons into Iraq so that they could fuck up Iran. You know what I mean? So and they fought a war from like 1980 to 1988 and just destroyed their countries. You know what I mean? They don't like each other at all. And here comes George Bush, and George Bush is like, they're an axis of evil. They don't even like each other. And North Korea ain't got nothing to do with them dudes. They're an axis of nothing. They trade with each other because the rest of the world has poo-pooed them. The rest of the world has neglected them, right? So if the whole world's gonna neglect us, and the only people I can trade with are North Korea, I'm going to trade with North Korea because nobody else will trade with me, right? That's just common sense. So we force them into a corner, and then we call them an axis of evil. They don't even get along, right? North Korea is on its own goddamn trip. They don't give a shit about nobody. North Korea attacks its own allies, right? North Korea will fire on Chinese ships. And huh?
North Korea?
You're live, Jeff. Say hi.
What's up?
To the internet.
What's up, internet?
Tell Jeff, hey.
Florida boy.
Who closed that door? John Perkins. Carlos, good to see you. That's a good looking dog you got there. I like dogs. What's the matter with Irony? What happened to Irony? You all right, Irony? The Fabio books? Oh, the ones where that'll have like some pretty motherfucker on there. No, I was never really into romance novels so much. I read all the Dean Koontz fucking books. I read all those books, all the Anne Rice books. the interview with the vampire and that whole fucking what you call, and then the witches, the Mayfair witches, and then they kind of tied those two what you calls in together, those two series in together. Their worlds, I guess, kind of like a Marvel universe type thing. The worlds kind of converged. I read all of those. I did read some of those VC Andrews books. Those VC Andrews books were fucking a lot of incest, a lot of weird shit. But no, I was never really into love stories so much, like the female. You know what I mean? The ones that always had some yoked ass fool on the front, and he'd have some long ass hair looking like Fabio. I think that's what you're talking about. And no, I was never really into those so much. Read a lot of conspiracy theory books. Oh yeah, I remember whenever I read Hannibal. I read Hannibal, the PPK. That is what it is, the PPK. Yeah. Not the YPK. Yeah, the PPK. You're right. So we rioted. Whenever we rioted in Buny, we tore a bunch of shit up, and everybody we were lighting books on fire and throwing them down the tier, and the tier was flooded and everything else. And I woke up in the morning like 5, 6 in the morning, and there was like 4 or 5 inches of water everywhere. They're like the cops weren't even coming in there. And I looked out, and there was a book floating down the thing. And I reached out the bars because Buny's old school bars, you know what I mean? And I grabbed this book, pulled it in, and it was the book Hannibal. And I dried that motherfucker out real good, and I ended up reading that. That's how I read the book Hannibal. People's Party of Kurdistan, yeah. See, have to imagine there were at least a couple Nazi. There might be. Well, I mean, there was a couple of assassination attempts on Hitler's life, so certainly, right?
Oh, yeah, no, bro.
The movie Valkyrie with Tom Cruise talks about this. It's a true story. He ended the guy he plays in the movie ended up getting assassinated, right? Or not assassinated, ended up getting executed for his attempt on Hitler's life, right? Yeah, and so I'm sure there was. I'm sure if you've ever seen the movie The Pianist with Adrian Brody, the reason that he survives, he's a pianist, a Jewish pianist in Warsaw whenever the Nazis, whenever the Nazis invade. And if you see the movie is based on a true story, an actual pianist in Warsaw. And one of the reasons that he survives, if you watch the movie, is because the Nazi takes his coat off and gives it, because the Nazis had those big long coats. You know what I mean? The coats, they're like the stormtrooper coats. They went all the way down to your ankles. You know what I mean? Big, well made. I think they're made by Hugo Boss, right? And so he took his coat off and he gave it to him. He found him, and he didn't. He found him and he could have killed him. He probably should have killed him because they were going through killing all the Jews and shit like that. They were supposed to be clearing the place out, and he didn't want to do that, so he took his coat off and he gave it to him. And there was like a can. Dude survived off like a can of tomato paste or something like that. The Nazi kicked a can at him. He found him. I think he found him trying to open the can of tomato paste. He was making noise trying to open the can of tomato paste. And instead of killing him, he takes his jacket off and he gives it to him. And then whenever the Russians take it back, whenever the Russians roll into Warsaw, he comes out trying to give himself up, and he's got that Nazi coat on, and they start dumping on him because they think he's a Nazi. He's like almost half starved to death and freezing to death. You know what I mean? And got kept alive by this Nazi coat, you know what I mean? And they start fucking dumping on him. They start shooting at him, you know? Shout out to the Kurds. Hey, they've been fighting. They've been fighting for their land a long time, man. They've been fighting for their land a long time. Definitely what? Yeah. The blacks become commies. Think that is where the FPA got their ideology from. Yeah. It's an interesting book. It's an interesting theory, you know, or not theory, but I mean, it's an interesting alternate reality, you know what I mean? Because if Hitler doesn't invade the Soviet Union, It would have been the calculus would have been a lot different. If Hitler made a huge mistake invading the Soviet Union and then had to fight because we had our hand, Britain had its hands full, Britain and France. France got their ass handed to them, right? And Britain had their hands full big time. And the United States, I'm going to be honest with you, the United States didn't enter the war until it kind of looked like the Nazis were already going to lose. You know what I mean? So if the Nazis don't open up the second front, if they don't attack Russia, who at the time was having their own problems anyway, was basically in the middle of a bunch of bullshit anyway, was kind of unstable anyway. If they don't attack Russia, there'd have been some problems. And we might all know a lot more German over here, German might be the second language, not Spanish. Good to see you, Mohammed. Modern history of the world has been run by those who speak well and carry the bigger stick. That's it. That's it. It's just the application of violence, homie. That's what makes you right. It's just the way that it is. Now, if I had a choice, would I want the United States to run the world, or Russia, or China, or Iran? I'm going to choose the United States, because the United States generally has the rule of law, and it has a functioning democracy. And a functioning democracy that has checks and balances and doesn't allow, a dictator to do whatever the hell they want to do. That's one of the beauties of the Constitution, and one of the beauties of all the things that have been set up in the American system is it doesn't matter. You can put any asshole in power. It doesn't matter. You know what I mean? Look at how much people hate Trump. You can put Trump in power, and Trump can try to do whatever he wants. There's only so much you can do. You know what I mean? Because the system is set up a certain way, and certain things, through the House and through the Senate. How long has he been talking about this big, beautiful bill? Right? It has to pass the House. It has to pass the Senate. And there's checks and balances, and there's roadblocks, and there's speed bumps, and people can hold up the system. If the bill is too egregious, if the shit that you're trying to do is too egregious, people can throw a wrench in the system, and that's how the system was set up by the founding fathers, is to make sure that no matter how nuts the tyrant was that gets into office, that gets, slick talking motherfucker gets himself into office, he can only do so much damage. And then once you're termed out, you're gone. That's it. You're gone. And if you go too far one way, you know what I mean? If you get in and you're just a complete asshole and you move all the way to the right or all the way to the left, you know what I mean? There's going to be a backlash every time. If you go way too far to the right and you know what I mean, and you manage to put like prayer back in school and and you're hunting down gay people like they do in Africa and shit like that, there's going to be a backlash. The Republicans will get thrown the hell out. You'll get some nut job lefty in there, and then they'll yank it back to the left. They'll yank the country back to the left, and it always back to the middle, because that's where people want to be, because that's where most people are, is in the middle, because that's what human beings strive for, is the yin yang, right? Dark and light. I mean, think about it. In every society that's ever been around, balance is what is treasured. Balance is what is sought. In Asia, you know what I mean? You talk about the yin yang, you talk about dark light, you talk about male, feminine, you know what I mean? Good versus evil, things of this nature. We all agree that you can't have the good without the bad. You can't have light without dark. They all play off of each other. You can't have the feminine without the masculine. The world doesn't work that way. Everywhere in the world prizes balance. Every culture that's ever been around has some sort of representation of balance, because this is what we need. Think about it. You really want, you want a girl that's more masculine than you? Do I want a girl that's more feminine than me, or more more right wing than me? Right? I mean, as far to the right as I am, right? I'm a Colorado Republican, so we're a little bit to the left anyway. But I don't want that shit. I want a girl that's, you know what I mean, that balances me out. Hmm? That's what we want. Is we want things that balance us out. See, blue collar vet, good to see you, my homie. Just seeing you in there. Saddam was terrified of Iran. Did bro just beat his meat? Bo was in the bathroom for like 10 minutes. Oh, was he? Stupid. Better be diplomatic, be ready to fuck everybody up. Yeah. Let's see. They were saying Iran still is the biggest opium producer in the world. You can get a bag for like $20. I heard, really? I didn't know that. I thought it was Afghanistan, but I'm not positive on that. Let me look that up. I don't know if that's true or not. Let me look that up. Which country produces most opium? Yeah, I don't know about that. Myanmar. Myanmar is the world's largest producer of opium, producing some 25% of the world's opium and forms part of the Golden Triangle. So it looks like Myanmar. What? But then right here it says, where does 90% of the world's opium come from? Around 90% of the world's opium comes from Afghanistan. What? Doesn't make any sense. Okay, so AI, Wikipedia says Myanmar. The National Institute of Health says Afghanistan. So I don't know. The case for allowing Afghanistan to cultivate to combat the alleged shortage of opiate medicines has been reported. About 90% of the world's opium comes from Afghanistan, and most of it is destined for the illicit market. Counter narcotics is at the heart of the United Kingdom's involvement in Afghanistan, not just because it is a major source of finance for the Taliban. Okay, so that's what the National Institute of Health says. But Wikipedia says Myanmar is the largest producer of opium. Which looks like, okay, so Thailand, Vietnam, and Burma are a big, oh, it looks like a lot in Mexico too. That's the Golden Triangle, is Burma, Thailand, and Vietnam. I know that's also like Southeast Asia is also like the methamphetamine capital of the world. More methamphetamine comes out of there than anywhere. I don't know. Maybe Afghanistan's shipping it over there. I don't know. Well, it's up in the air, I guess. Krupp, good to see you. Iran has funded Shiite militias, including Jaish al-Mahdi or Jam in the Sadr city, which we fought all the time. There's a power struggle between them and Saudi Arabia. You're right. You're right. Iran funds rebels all in that area. If Iran keeps the entire area, pretty much every country around them, it attempts to keep them unstable. Not necessarily the Soviet Union, because it really can't. It doesn't have the power. And the Soviet Union wouldn't, or not the Soviet Union, Russia, I should say Russia. Russia wouldn't put up with it. Russia wouldn't have that. But every other country around there, Yemen, even Hamas, basically anywhere around there that's willing to fight and die to cause problems, Iran will Iran will fund them. I don't. Why I feel like LeBron James read from looks. Probably so, brother. Probably so. Comes yeah, that's what I thought as well. That was my understanding as well. I don't know, maybe somebody, you know how Wikipedia is, people can just get in there and edit shit. So that's possible that's why Wikipedia is saying that, is because somebody got in there and just edited it. And so, but my understanding was it was Afghanistan, that it's been Afghanistan. Let's see. Herb, good to see you, Muhammad. Good to see you. See, dog, what's cracking, Muhammad? I see that puppy right there. That's a cool puppy. God bless. Let's see. Just watching something on it. They were saying Iran, maybe it was Iraq, but they were saying they have a huge opium problem there, and their rehab snatch you up and either kill you or lock you up. That sounds like Iraq, but it could be Iran. Iran's got a lot of problems with unemployment. We've been putting the squeeze on Iran for a while now, ever since Trump pulled out of the nuclear deal. And I don't know if that was a good idea. I don't know if that, if that's to blame for all this nonsense right now. It certainly didn't help Trump pulling out of the nuclear deal. And I'm not saying it was a good deal. It wasn't a good deal. But I think a little bit more diplomacy may have been in order. Than just saying fuck this deal. Trump basically just said fuck this deal and peed on it, and then here we are 5-6 years later. You see what's going on. Boy in the Striped Pajamas is a very good movie, but it is very sad. It's a very good movie. Yeah. Yeah, I've seen that when his mom gets all pissed. Dude, okay, so I'm gonna tell the story right now. So whenever I was a kid, I don't even remember who gave me this fucking poster. Somebody gave me the poster, the movie poster to Schindler's List. And it was like a special edition fucking poster. And I've only seen this poster's worth a bunch of money now, right? Okay, so it's like as big as my goddamn door. And it's in black and white, like the movie was, but there's red roses all around his feet. And it's a Nazi soldier. It's a poster of a Nazi soldier, and he's got his head down like this, so you can't see his face. And all you can see is his hat. His head's down like this. He's in like his dress uniform, right? And it's all in black and white with these red roses. And I was even too young. I'm like 5 or 6. I didn't understand, you know what I mean? Like, I didn't even really know what swastika was. It just was a cool poster. It was just a cool ass poster, you know what I mean? I wasn't on that trip. So I had this fucking poster on my door, on the door of my bedroom, this huge fucking poster on the door of my bedroom of this fucking Nazi soldier. And it took up like the whole fucking thing. And I remember one of my homies came over, this little black kid, and that fool came over and we were playing in my room, and that fool looked at that. And I remember the look on his face. He looked at that fucking poster like, what the fuck? He knew exactly what that fucking swastika was, dude. I didn't even know. I don't know whatever happened to that poster. That poster's worth a gang of money now, though. If you can find that original poster, it's a badass fucking poster. It's not the one. It's like it was like a special edition one. It wasn't the one they actually had at the movies. It was some sort of special edition one that they had produced. I don't even know who fucking gave it to me. It was a badass poster. Yeah, they do. They do. The show did get kind of weird at the end, but definitely got a good look. Yeah, it did get weird. Did you ever see the show Fargo? There was a there was a show on TV, Fargo, and it didn't have anything to do with the fucking movie at all. And it started off being about like some crime, like criminals and shit like that up in Fargo, North Dakota. And the way it ends, you're just like, what the fuck? What just happened? You know what I mean? Like, what the fuck happened? You see, I'm not even going to spoil it because you'll never see it coming. I wouldn't even say I recommend it. I don't know. It was so fucking weird towards the end. It was just like, what? What? But yeah, I get caught. Oh yeah, you're in. No bueno, sir. Mike, good to see you. Man, the Scante Warrior. Good to see you. Good to see you. Oh yeah, sorry I ain't been around. I fucking got a job. I got a job and I've been working for like a week. And you know how it is whenever you first go back to work, it just fucking kicks your ass. And so last week was my first week. I was kind of tripping about not being able to find a job. It took me like a month to find a job. Finally found a job, got a job, and I've been working for like a week and I just been exhausted because it's been kicking my ass. Like my hands and feet and fucking everything hurt. You know how it is whenever you first go back. But now I'm starting to get back to it. I went to work today and I'm not all fucking exhausted at least now. You know what I mean? So I was like, I need to jump on and go see the fellas. I need some more water. I feel it. I gave him this UA the other day. That motherfucker was thick. Thick ass. He's like, you need some water, fool. Some old hairy highness. Chat CPT has been acting up today. See, Dub is so fat and out of shape, he blew up a balloon. Get the fuck out of here. Yeah, that was my understanding, but who knows now? Who knows now? Well, yeah, because I didn't even think about that. Because the assholes got control of Afghanistan now. I can't think of their fucking names right now, but the assholes got the Taliban, right? The Taliban's got a hold of Afghanistan again, so they may have went and destroyed all the goddamn opium poppies. Let's see. Grok 3 is an amazing app like ChatGPT. Grok 3. I don't know that one, brother. Facts. Good to see you, Mohammed. Chank Crank. Yeah. In Southern Illinois. Southern Illinois is the capital. Meth capital of the world. And they produce massive amounts of crank in that little Golden Triangle area. They produce tons and tons and tons of crank. Like you think about meth being like a United States thing, like centered in the United States, right? No, it is a Southeast Asia thing. They're producing massive amounts. Well, they got China right there. You get all your precursor chemicals, like I don't know if anybody knows anything about drugs here in the United States about cooking methamphetamine, but they have fucked with every precursor chemical that you used to be able to get. We used to just be able to get them. You could find them from different things. If you knew how to ask for them, you could go to like feed stores. You could get the wall fed. And that was even after. You used to just be able to buy ephedrine. You used to just be able to buy ephedrine tablets. You know what I mean? And that was even in the 90s out here in Colorado. You could go buy bottles of fucking ephedrine. And then they outlawed that. And then you could still go get the wall fed. You could go steal. We would take, I wouldn't do this anymore, but you can't do this anymore. But what we do is we would take back whenever like the parachute pants were cool and shit like that. So we would take some sweatpants on underneath, and then we take some rubber bands and put them on the bottom of the sweatpants, right? And then we put like some parachute pants or like some jogging pants on over them, right? Like some of them were like a size too big. And then we would go into like Walgreens and you just open up your pants like this and just grab everything off the shelf and throw them down into your sweatpants that have the rubber bands at the bottom and just fill your pants up and just cruise out. You know what I mean? And you could sell those to the cooks. So the United States over the years has realized all the different ways that people were, getting different chemicals and stuff like that to make methamphetamine. And they just kept messing with them and kept messing with them and making them harder to get, and you know what I mean, anhydrous ammonia and all these different things. They kept making it harder and harder and harder to get, and they've messed with all the chemicals. They've combined them with other things and shit like that, and so it's gotten harder and harder to make. But in Southeast Asia, it's not. You can just get the raw chemicals, just like the fentanyl. You can get the raw chemicals for the fentanyl in what's called, and that's another thing that I think has a big problem with what we're seeing now. You know, so I've worked for a drug treatment center, and they don't test for fentanyl anymore. They test for fentanyl analog. If you look at the actual test, what they test for is fentanyl analog, right? It's something similar to fentanyl. And the reason why is because years ago, we were complaining to China and saying, hey, this fentanyl shit is out of control. You guys need to do something about it. So they outlawed fentanyl. They outlawed the precursor chemicals for fentanyl, but they didn't outlaw chemicals that were just like it. And so you know how the chemical looks like on a sheet. It's got the little circle, and then it'll have the little branches off and shit like that, you know, like a molecule, right? And so what China did is they would just change the molecule just a little bit, right? Change it just a little bit. So it's basically the same molecule, but it's just got an extra oxygen on it or an extra whatever on it. And then they would use that. That's what they would start sending, right? They send it to Mexico, and then they make the fentanyl pills in Mexico and send them across. So you figure 10 or 12 times down the line, they keep changing it just a little bit, just enough so it gets past the regulators. That's how much they're changing it, is just enough to where it gets past the regulators. So technically this isn't illegal anymore. The drug that we're sending isn't illegal anymore. But they're not thinking of, they don't care about, actually I shouldn't say they're not thinking, they don't care to even think about it, because they figure stupid Americans are going to do drugs. This is your fault anyway, right? So the ramifications of that drug being used down the line, right? What are the side effects? What's actually going to happen, right? So the drugs that people are doing out here, and then they come up with the xylazine, and now they're using the xylazine, right? They use that to cut it in because the tranquilizer, it's so much stronger. And so the drugs that people are actually doing now aren't even fentanyl anymore. It's just some sort of fentanyl analog, something that acts like fentanyl, but they don't know what the fucking ramifications of these drugs are. That's why people are having all these weird ass side effects. It does something to your hands. You see these people just in horrible pain from fucking fentanyl. You see people's hands swell up. Their hands would swell up and go numb, and they'd be in crazy fucking pain. Their hands would split open and shit. The fentanyl doesn't do that shit. I've done fentanyl back in the day. The pops, they used to have them in the lollipops. They used to have them in the patches. That don't do that shit to you. Fentanyl is a pure drug. Real fentanyl, actual like medical grade fentanyl is pure drug. It doesn't do that shit to you. It'll kill you if you do too much of it. But it doesn't have all these crazy side effects that these people are going through now. Dope shot ducks, his toenails. I ain't never been that high. Yeah. I don't mind it sometimes. I'm an adult. I just ignore it. If I want to ignore it, I ignore it. If it's funny, hey, homie, funny's funny. You know? But I haven't heard from him. Let's see. DC Irish. Rest in peace, DC Irish, bro. Fly high, brother. Fly high. Yeah, thank you, brother. I appreciate you. Yeah. Anybody can edit it, and then they, you know, as long as some people approve it or something like that, and it could be up to date. That might be up to date information, you know, because you got to think about it like this. Man, I need to shave my mustache. My mustache is creeping up into my nose and making me itch. You got to think about that. You know, like the National Institute of Health, that's part of the American government, right? They work for the American government, and you have to remember that a government that's as big as America, it's like a juggernaut, right? It takes a while to fall. Whenever a juggernaut falls, whenever a juggernaut moves, it takes a while to fall. And Wikipedia is much more adept, right? Adept and a lot more dexterity. They can move a lot quicker, right? So it's possible that they're right. You know, if that's updated information and the Taliban has put a crackdown on Afghanistan and there's no opium coming out of Afghanistan, I can't imagine there's none. You know what I mean? But they may have put a severe hamper on what is coming out of Afghanistan, and that might be the most updated information. Now, if it was, I would imagine that the price of heroin would have skyrocketed by now. And I haven't seen that. Whenever I was running around just a couple months ago, the price of heroin, I mean, it's high, but it's not, you know, it's not ridiculous. Get an ounce for 1,000, 1,200, something like that of good heroin, good black tar heroin, which isn't too far off from what it used to be. There's times whenever it was cheaper, you know what I mean. There's times whenever you could get it for 500, 600 an ounce, but that was a long time ago. The most I've ever seen it is around 1,800 an ounce. And if the world's supply had been, if 90% of it was coming out of Afghanistan and the Taliban had put a stranglehold on the supply coming out of Afghanistan, you would expect to see a drastic increase in the price of street heroin. And you just don't see that. And there's both kinds of heroin here. There's heroin from the China white shit that is the powder, the off-white powder, tannish powder that comes from the east, and there's the Mexican black tar stuff that comes from south of the border. You can get both of them out here, and neither one of the prices has skyrocketed. So it would really surprise me if they really choked the supply that much. I just don't see any evidence for that. But who knows? Who knows? I'm not positive about that. Tashanka, good to see you, Mahoney. Yeah, I just got out the shower. It's good to see you, Mahoney. I'm glad you're still around. Let's see. Berrywood, Bigfoot, got a crowd in here. Hell yeah. All the homies is here. Let's see. You're getting your weight back up, gangs. You get my damn weight down. Well, that's the next step. I got to get back in the goddamn ring. I got to get back in the. I'm gonna get down there with Mile High Hustle. That's the next step. I got to get my money up. It's $60 a month for the damn boxing gym. I haven't. Normally, I would get back in just the regular gym, but the regular gyms it can be so hard to stay on the punching bags in the regular gym, and I really want to start getting back in the ring and back on the punching bags and stuff like that because it's just such awesome cardio, and just to keep your hands right and keep your wind right and stuff like that, and but that's my next step. I got a job now. I was really kind of tripping on not being able to find a job. I got a job now. I'm working. I got a little bit of my wind back. Like I said, I'm working again, and I got some energy. I got the first week out of the way, so I'm at least a little not so beat up now that I can start. Got a little bit of energy to jump on the internet and stuff like that. And that's the next step. Is I need to get back in the gym. You need to get back in the gym. Need to get a car going real quick. Persian women are hot. I like all women, to be honest with you. I ain't never, you know what I mean? There's I've turned down plenty of women, but being foreign ain't never been the reason. I like all of them. You know, being foreign or skin color or anything like that ain't never been the reason. Amazon women too. Big old girls. As long as they're not all hairy. There's some hairy bitches in Persia, but there's some hairy French bitches too. Some hairy French bitches. There's some hairy Italian bitches. I'm Italian. I know. There's some hairy Italian women. They get that ass crack hairline. Amazon delivery drivers. Fucking shit. Yeah, I was a nerd even when I was a kid, dog. Yeah, fucking Cindy Crawford and fucking Schindler's List, dog. Oh, stupid. That's funny. Filipinas, they're good too. See, and that's a good mix, right? Because Filipinas are Spanish and Asian. You know what I mean? And that's a solid mix right there. You know, because you got them, you got the pre-Columbian features coming out of Mexico, but then you got Spain too. You got Spain. You got the mixed up blood of Spain mixing with that Asian DNA, so it's not that pure fucking hardcore Asian. Because some of the pure hardcore Asians can be a little bit rough. You know what I mean? But you got that European blood mixed with it. Yeah, pink toes. Big toes are where it's at. No, I'm not in a bakery. I'm actually at a brewing company. I'm at a brewing company that cooks, and they needed a cook for the back, not like a line cook, but they needed somebody to make somebody that could make everything, that knew a little bit of everything. So like today, I made a bunch of cakes and sauces. I made some soups. I made the inside of chicken pot pie. I mean, it's not really a soup. It's more like more closer to a gravy. But I made carrot cakes. I made chicken pot pies. I made the icing for the carrot cake. I made some Philly cheesesteak. I made a bunch of Philly cheesesteak stuff. I made a bunch of filling for the egg rolls. Just they needed somebody who wanted a little bit of they knew a little bit of everything. You know what I mean? That's what they said. They said we need somebody who's tired of working on the line, somebody who wants to be in the back. I said that's me. They said we need somebody who can work by themselves and not be bothered, can just be autonomous. I said I love to be left the fuck alone. That's what I want. Just put me in the back and leave me the fuck alone, and I'll knock shit out all day. They were like, bet. So yeah, got me a job back in. It's 40 hours. It's 40 a week. So not great pay, not great, not horrible, kind of in the middle. Uh, well, at least for out here. I mean, it's great pay for a lot of places, but this is Denver, so what are you gonna do? You know, it's $20 minimum out here to fucking work, 20 an hour minimum. You know, yeah, the blues. Shit, honestly, it's not even the blues, homie. It's the fatty powder now. They all want the powder, homie. They're all looking for the straight powder now. You know what I mean? Denver, what up? Dub said, you know people that will vouch for him. Vouch for him for what? To do what? Take out a loan, or what do you mean? Everybody asks where Bigfoot. Nobody. Oh, what's up, my homie? Good to see you. No dos. Yeah, I remember the no dos back in the day. The mini thins. Remember the mini thins? No. Yeah. Good to see you, my homie. See, in Sudafed, all this in New York, all the Sudafed, etc., is locked up, and you have to be on a list. You can only buy a certain amount of boxes a month, and it's not even worth buying. Nobody gets. Yeah, it's a hassle. You buy like 2 boxes a month or some shit like that. It's just a huge hassle. And like I said, we used to just be able to just fill it, just by you know what I mean, just walk in and just clear the whole shelf out. But that's what gets it. You know what I mean? They realize after a while, you clear enough shelves out, they realize, hey, they're doing something with this shit. You down to St. Louis? Hell yeah. St. Louis? Car fentanyl is insane. Yeah, I've heard of that. I'm not 100% sure exactly what that shit is. Exactly what, you know what I mean? But they talk about it. But I don't know, because they say fentanyl is, like 80 times stronger than heroin or something like that. But if you see how much fentanyl it takes to use, you know what I mean? It's not 80 times more than the amount of heroin. Like, you're only using just a tiny amount of heroin too. So I don't know. I don't really trust them with that shit. And the same amounts that they say, oh, they say this is this is like a lethal dose of fucking heroin or whatever. It's like, I shot that much heroin before. You know what I mean? And I was nowhere near dying. I was in the zone. So I don't know. Yeah. Pushing hard, get that wind up. That's good. Two men came out of the bathroom. Run that back, bro. Run that back. Rewind this bitch. Stupid. Oh, no. Wesley, what up? Good to see you, homie. Am I behind on the what's called? Am I behind on the comments? I'm way behind on the comments. I just realized that. My bad. Let's see. The Hamburger Bandit is back. Let's see. Fentanyl was China's way of killing us from the inside. Is by far the most overdosed. Yeah. Xylozine's something else. That shit killing motherfuckers. Twice a day. Fuck yeah. Have Rocky give you my phone number? Yeah. Stop by, Bigfoot, Big Feezy. 410, what up, my homie? Good to see you. Good to see you. He does have, yeah. That one fucking, it's like, but as long as you don't encounter that side effect, you're good to go, right? uh, uh, longer. DC Irish is the Undertaker. Let's see. Fentanyl isn't the problem it once was. It's the trank. And there's no drug designed for recovering from trank, so it's being sold separately. Now a lot of people on programs get off fent and still need to buy trank. What, like they're becoming addicted to it? Is that what you're saying? They're becoming addicted to the xylazine? You might be right. They need the xylazine to get high or something. Let's see. Who'd have thought the way to win a war on drugs was stronger? Some black women have mustaches. Some white women have mustaches too. A lot of white women, especially blonde girls, you can always see a blonde girl's mustache whenever they get in the sun. Yeah. Chicago West, what up? When you left turns, no measurements when it's stone cold pure. Yeah, it could be. It could be. But I don't know. I just don't. I don't believe the government's the government's fucking the way that they tout shit. It's never really made sense just from what I've seen, you know? Yeah, I go forward, I went left and nothing was right. I went right and there was nothing left, and I don't know if I go. Let's see. Yeah, Illinois, you got a certain amount you can get, and they take your driver's license every time. At least has. What you talk about? Points, something like that. Yeah, you get like 20 points or something like that out here before they take your license. Yeah, it's never really made sense. Even I can remember whenever I was young, them talking about like don't take a tin foil from strangers or something like that because even touching it could kill you or da 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 da. And ain't no motherfucking methamphetamine that you can touch that'll kill you. That was a lie. You know what I mean? That was the war on drugs. This is like the 1980s, late 1980s. That's what they used to tell us, right? That even if you touch it, you could die. If you touch ice, you could die. Well, that was a fucking lie. Nobody who's ever touched ice has died. So that was a fucking lie. Yeah. Joe's first kiss was a jelly donut. Stupid. I like jelly donuts too. I had a jelly donut yesterday. Anyway, I'm probably gonna call it a night, fellas, because I gotta wake up at 5:30 and get my ass to work. But let's see. Back in the Nancy Reagan, just said, yeah, this is literally whenever I was in second grade, so like 88, 89, something like that. Yeah, I just touched ice from my drink, and that's the shit that they used to tell us. That's the shit that they used to tell us, and it was like that shit was a lie. So they just make shit up. They just say stuff. You know what I mean? I don't really buy that shit anymore. But anyway, thank you, my homies. I appreciate you. You'll be seeing me more. Now that I'm not exhausted from work, so fucking beat down from work, I got to get up now and fucking stretch for a minute, drink some water, get my ass to bed. I am doing well. TCB, I am doing well. Thank you. I appreciate you. And I'll see you guys. I'll see you guys soon. I'll be back on here before the week is out, just to say hi or something like that. I'll pick another topic. Chances are this Iran shit is probably gonna keep popping. This shit ain't over yet. So we might be talking about this one again. I might do some more history, some more digging into this shit. Become an expert on Iran for a while. Anyway, later, my friends. Appreciate you.